I speak in the name of the Creator, God who is our Creator, our Redeemer, and our Sustainer. Amen. Today it is a great honor and a privilege to be able to share with you on World Environment Day. And greetings to everybody who is here at the Cathedral and to those who may be watching on live stream. And also to be with you today, Father Reverend Marcus and Colleen and family, is an honor and a privilege. Today we celebrate World Environment Day. John 10 verse 10 talks about abundant life. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it in abundance. What is abundant life? During 2020, we experienced what abundant life is not. We were in lockdown. We were kept away from our friends and family. We were not able to worship. And at some point, we were not even allowed to go out onto the mountain and to the beaches. We were trapped. What caused that virus? We hear that in late 2019, on the other side of the globe, a virus probably jumped from a sick bat to a captured pangolin, and the first human was infected when that captured pangolin was kept in a wet market together with slaughtered meat. It jumped from animals to humans. And so-called zoonotic diseases that jump from animals to humans are becoming more and more common. Swine flu, avian flu, mad cow disease, SARS, MERS, even HIV came to us from simian immunovirus, which jumped from primates to us. These diseases are the boomerang effect of biodiversity loss. The growing pressure of urban and agrarian expansion on natural environments is increasing the frequency of contact between human populations and wild animals. Some of these species are hosts for viruses that we have had no contact with, and the effect on us is devastating. Not only that, but we are cramming domestic animals into unhealthy, overcrowded situations and pumping them full of antibiotics when they become sick. Will it be that the next virus will come to us from a concentrated animal feeding scheme? COVID has taught us, firstly, that as a global community, we are all interconnected. It has also taught us that the web of life is unraveling. What happens to the web of life affects the sons and daughters of the earth. The theme for World Environment today is restoring our ecosystems, which means to restore the web of life. And yesterday was launched the Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, when we commit ourselves to mending what we have broken. We have failed to care for this earth. As we listen to those familiar and beautiful words read so well, thank you, Tatu Khapia. As we listen to those beautiful words of the creation of the world, it was like listening to a National Geographic movie. The oceans swarming, the multitudes of animals, the diversity of the insects buzzing and the birds flying. And we have failed to look after this beautiful blue planet. We have not stopped pumping carbon emissions into the air, warming the earth, causing drought, extreme weather events, and sea level rise. Drought is killing off natural habitats. Floods sweep away the fertile topsoil, and the sea level poisons them with salt as it rises. As the earth warms, we are also seeing a huge increase in the number of fires, as we experienced here. Often after several years of drought, the fires come. And we are seeing the destruction of the Arctic ecosystems as the ice melts. And if that is not enough, we are filling our oceans and rivers with plastic. Consumption is increasing from those with more affluent lifestyles, and those who consume little get less and less to eat. Our demand is continuing for consumer goods, and we are eating beyond our limits. Earth Overshoot Day is the tragic day every year when our demand for ecological resources exceeds what Mother Earth can regenerate that year. Last year, Earth Overshoot Day took place on the 22nd of August. For the rest of the year, we are the ones stealing resources from the generations to come. The thief comes to steal and destroy. We are the thieves from the generations to come. The rich are getting richer, while the poor become ever more poor. In 2010, the 10 richest people in the world increased their money by 54%. And there are over 2,000 billionaires now around the world. The richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, the head of Amazon, increased his fortune during COVID from $113 billion to $178 billion. They are stealing from the earth. They are stealing from the workers. That wealth is coming from the abuse of this planet. The words of the prophet Jeremiah call out to us. In Jeremiah 2 verse 7, God said, I brought you into a fertile land to eat its fruit and rich produce. But you came and defiled my land and made my inheritance detestable. In my lifetime alone, we have wiped out almost 2/3 of the populations of wild animals. The web of life is unraveling. When we talk of ecosystem devastation, we must hear the cry of the rural poor. The rural poor depend on the natural resource base. This is where their pharmacy is. This is where their supermarket is. This is, in fact, their fuel station, their power company, their water company, says Kenyan botanist Dr. Stella Simui. Imagine if you had your whole water supply, food supply, fuel supply wiped out to feed a mighty corporation. In order to restore the web of life, we need to re-examine our relationship with creation. Consumerism and colonialism are underpinned by the theology of dominion, that we are the rulers of creation and that God has given us the right to have dominion over the earth and to subdue it, to meet our need and even our greed as humans. This morning we heard in Genesis 1:28 that we are to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, to rule over the fish of the sea and the birds in the sea and over every living creature. What does that mean? Are we really called to subdue and destroy the earth? In Hebrew, the word subdue, kabash, is an agricultural image. You need to bring to mind a smallholder, somebody with their field who is pulling up weeds pulling out tree stumps, taking out those large rocks so that they can plant their few cabbages. That is what subdue means. Subdue means to prepare the earth for agriculture, not to come in with our mighty machinery and take off all the topsoil and dig down for those minerals below, destroying the earth for the future. More recently, the idea of humans as dominators of creation has been replaced by the idea that we are stewards of creation. This is a better concept, but it still separates us from creation. There's a pyramid. God's at the top, and then we're next, and we have to look after poor creation. We see ourselves as separate. Environment is something out there. The reality is that we are not separate from creation. We are part of the web of life. If you listen to the reading this morning, you will have noted that we didn't even get a day all to ourselves. We were created on the same day as all the other animals. We are also animals. We are part of the web of life. We have been given a special role to nurture and to renew, but we are not separate from the web of life. Pope Francis, in his very famous encyclical Laudato Si, bases it on Psalm 148, which describes the whole of creation that we read about this morning as a chorus which is worshipping God. The whales, the rhino, the humans, we all are worshipping God in our own way. We worship God within this choir of life, this community of all creation. When one of the voices of the choir, whether it is a tiny insect or a great rhino, is stilled, God's heart is broken. In Franciscan theology, this idea of the choir of the whole of creation praising God together is taken one step further. In the Canticle of Creation by St. Francis, Francis praises God for our brother wind, our sister water, and our sister earth, our mother. If we were to treat water as our sister, if we were to treat the earth as our mother, we would act in a very different way. We need to recognize that God speaks to us through creation. For many of us during these COVID times, creation has been our sanity. It has been the place when we've found healing through bereavements, when we haven't been able to attend funerals. It's the place where we've been able to connect with family and friends when we weren't allowed to meet in houses. And Romans 1 tells us that God speaks to us in creation. From the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made. God speaks to us. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. And yet we often do not listen, for we lock ourselves in our four walls. We sit on our electric devices and we run from place to place, and we do not make time to listen to the voice of God in creation. If you look at the spiritual life of Jesus, you find that he spent a lot of time in creation. He did go to the synagogue, but at times of stress, he prayed on the mountain, he prayed in the garden, and that is where he was close to God. So what can we do? The web of life is breaking up. First of all, we need to remember that we are part of the web of life, that we are creators made in the image of God, and incorporate creation into our life, into our spiritual lives, into what we do with our children and our grandchildren. We need to grow our own food, whether it's herbs on the windowsill or a small amount of food in our backyard. We need to make sure that our gardens are full of the local indigenous plants. Can we pull up our grass, some of our grass from our lawns, and plant indigenous plants so that we can recreate the ecosystem in our garden? Can we remember the cry of our brothers and sisters who are hungry and support food gardening in the townships? Over COVID, there has been such a flurry of food gardens that have come up, all of which need support. If we can donate seedlings, if we can donate seeds, if we can donate compost, we can feed our brothers and sisters. We can be involved in cleanups. We can feel the pain of Sister River when we drive past and we see Sister River is full of litter. We can feel the pain of the ocean and become involved in cleanups. And here, right on our doorstep, as the community of Cape Town, one of our ecosystems is under threat. You may have heard of the River Club development. The Liesbeek River is a wetland area, and it is under threat from the development by Amazon. Now, Amazon, we mentioned Jeff Bezos yesterday, the richest man in the world, is wanting to build the African HQ of Amazon on top of a wetland. I want to read a letter that I received yesterday from a dear friend of the Dean, Imam Rashid, who is calling us to support a campaign to protect this ecosystem. This letter from the Claremont Mosque says that this is an important site of Khoi people. It is a site of Khoi resistance that has made this area sacred. The River Club site is a unique heritage and environmentally sensitive riverine area. It holds special heritage significance as the least untransformed wetland in the area. It is a history of Khoi resistance, which has rendered the land sacred with deep cultural and spiritual significance. We know too well the injustice on people's culture and heritage when displaced from their land. Moreover, any development on this land will aggravate flooding by infill of the flood valley and destroy the ability of the site to support the recharge of the aquifer, critically needed to render Cape Town more resilient in the face of climate change and drought. The case is going to the High Court, and they are asking for letters of support from organizations across Cape Town. Will we support the protection of that area? Will we support the protection of wetlands? As Cape Townians, we have felt the pain of drought. But under our feet, we have the aquifers, the groundwater, which we depend upon in time of drought. And it is vitally important that rain, when it falls, can filter down into the aquifers so that we have water supplies for the future. We cannot allow that our aquifers be desecrated. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it in abundance. So my challenge to you this morning is, will we stand in solidarity to protect this one ecosystem that has been given to us as the people of Cape Town to be stewards and protectors of? Today, God is calling us to join brothers and sisters around the world at the start of a decade of restoration of ecosystems. We can all take small actions in our own backyards, in our streets, in our communities, in our city, to restore and to protect the ecosystems. I want to end with a prayer from a translation of the Lord's Prayer, which is from the New Zealand prayer book, which was very strongly influenced by Maori theology. And it says, "Loving God, in whom is heaven, the hallowing of your name echo through the universe. The way of your justice be followed by the peoples of the world. Your heavenly will be done by all created beings. Amen."